Welcome to a new camera review and camera comparison. Actually, this is the yearly almost Apple versus Huawei contest. This time around we have the iPhone 16 Pro against the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. So let's get started. On this sunny but a bit of colder day here in Cologne, Germany, we have the Pura 70 Ultra versus the iPhone 16 Pro. Here you can see the camera specs. Both have a triple lens setup with a large main camera sensor, but the Pura has a 1-inch one, where on the iPhone it's a bit smaller. When it comes to the periscope zoom, Apple is this time switching to 5 times on the normal Pro model, where the Pura still has its 3.5 times zoom that we know from the P60 Pro series. And then we have an ultra wide angle here, which is upgraded to 48 megapixels on the iPhone and is 13 megapixels I think on the Pura. 40 megapixels actually on the Pura. It was 13 before. And we have also some front-facing shooters there. The iPhone has a 12 megapixel one and the Huawei has a 50 megapixel one. So now I'm recording with the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra, 0.8 times magnification, so we have a wide angle of view here for sure. I can go even wider if I want to, and you can see it's even wider. There's a bit of sun light there in the background. I think HDR is working fine here. This is the one that gives you probably the best picture quality because it's the native kind of lens. This one is cropping in 0.8 times, which is still I think the best for vlogging because it gives you the best stabilization. But you can go 1x, which is very close to what you have with the iPhone. So let's walk a little bit here to see if this is better. I think this is a bit worse than the iPhone because it has to be. It's just simply cropping in onto a very wide angle. So 0.8 times is probably the sweet spot. And let me perform a little test here in terms of focusing. It's also very, very shiny, but hopefully it is also focusing here on the iPhone, maybe on the back there. It's a bit hard to focus on this kind of thing, but yeah, what do you think about the quality here, about stabilization? In contrast to the iPhone, we not only have this zoom in, zoom out possibility and wider field of view by default, but what we also have here is, which is pretty cool, 4K 30, 4K 60 frames per second recording, but also stabilized footage. So I see myself already stabilized, so I know how the end result will be, and HDR is still working fine and still doing its job like it should be. So what do you think about the front-facing video here on the Pura 70 Ultra? Front-facing camera on the iPhone 16 Pro. It features 4K, 4K 30, 4K 60 frames per second, and still doesn't have an ultra wide angle of view here, but you get like this one-time basically view. External microphone should work fine on the iPhone as well. But just like the previous iPhones, we have no stabilization at all on the viewfinder on the screen, but later on the video itself is stabilized. So it's a bit of a bummer. Apple, that is praising themselves to have such an accurate color on the viewfinder all the time that you get a very nice representation of the final picture, final result, is still didn't figure out how to do stabilization during recording on the screen, so you know that you are stable enough. Anyway, this is the front-facing video, and let's do a little focusing test. There is the Pura 70 Ultra. It's a bit of, there you go, focusing hopefully on this well enough. Now I'm recording with the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra with its main 1-inch type sensor. You get a bit of more background blur. This 1-inch type sensor also has a variable aperture, so it can go from f1.4 to f4.0, which is quite cool and something that the iPhone is missing. So you can, depending on the situation, make it a little bit wider open or a little bit closer down to get a bit more sharpness in the shot. And this one, I think it's now recording at f2. This is usually what the video does, so you have the right amount of sharpness, but it can go a little bit blurrier in terms of the background blur. 4K 30, 4K 60, sadly no 4K 120 or 8K support on the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra, but during recording of 4K 30 I can also switch to the ultra wide angle, so let me do this. This is the ultra wide angle. Now I'm in the sun, probably a bit harsh sunlight there, that we didn't have with the iPhone. Let me go in the shadow a bit. This is the ultra wide angle. I think it should be a bit wider than on the iPhone, but you be the judge here. What do you think about this one here? And of course we also want to try to zoom in on the Porsche there in the background. So let's go in here, and there we have the Porsche. Let's go to the marking that I made here. You can see the ground there, I have a marking there. Let's go directly to 4 times zoom. This is the crop in from the 3.5 times zoom. This is the 4 times zoom. And I can go to 10 times zoom here. And at least on screen it looks a bit worse, like struggling with sharpness. And now I am at 15 times zoom. On screen it looks like to be a bit worse than the one on the iPhone. What do you think about this one here? The iPhone should be the winner because it has a longer optical zoom range, and then cropping in from 3.5 times should be a bit worse here. But yeah, you be the judge. What do you think about this one here? Which one is better? Now I'm using the new camera control button to start this recording, and I'm recording with the main camera of the iPhone 16 Pro. This one, like I said, is a bit smaller, the sensor size, than the one on the Pura 70 Ultra, but we have a large aperture, so we get a bit of background blur, and I think this one would be the best if you want to vlog with the iPhone. It is very stabilized, it has sensor shift stabilization, which is quite nice, and it has, I think, good colors and HDR, and 4K 30, 4K 60 is no problem, but the new thing is here we can record 4K 120 frames per second as well if we want to then later slow it down 4 times, for example. I'm recording 4K 30 because I'm working with the 4K 30 timeline, but this is what you can see here on the iPhone 16 Pro. We can of course switch to the ultra wide during recording. This is the ultra wide angle. This works also up to 4K 60, so 120 frames per second is only supported with the main camera sensor. So what do you think about the ultra wide angle here on the iPhone 16 Pro? And then of course we can also try to zoom in on something. I'm not sure where to zoom in. Maybe we zoom in on this Porsche there in the background. Do you see the Porsche? Let's go 5 times. There we go. And then I can go up to 15 times, which is the maximum on the iPhone. We have a 5 times exclusive tele zoom lens, so this is quite interesting here on the iPhone 16 Pro. Looking at the front-facing video, what we can see here, first of all, a wider field of view on the Pura, where the iPhone has a bit of more narrow view. We have more punchy colors on the Pura, more warmth in my face usually, but we can also see that, especially in the beginning, my face is a bit out of focus. So this is an issue with the Pura 70 Ultra sometimes when there's a lot of lights and shadows, that the autofocus gets a bit confused there. Later on it catches this, and yeah, in terms of HDR I think both are doing fine. So the iPhone 16 Pro has no issues at 4K 30 frames per second with HDR baking in into an SDR file. At 4K 60 frames per second, you saw it in another video maybe, there is a huge difference there. Yeah, when we take a look at both of them like closed up, what we can see again, more yellowish kind of face on the Pura 70 Ultra, where it's a bit more reddish kind of face on the iPhone 16 Pro. The iPhone tends to have a bit more contrast, less punchy colors. You see it here with the green grass there, and the sun is a bit more tuned down on the iPhone. In general, I think the iPhone is doing quite a good job there, and in terms of consistency. When it comes to focusing here, you can see that both are doing a fine job, so there's no difference between those two. It's a matter of preference. You like a bit more warmish, punchy colors on the Pura, or more realistic colors on the iPhone. I think the iPhone wins here for the front-facing video in general, though it's something different. Like I said, I have also the experience with the Pura with 4K 60 frames per second, where it wins against the iPhone 16 Pro at 60 frames per second, because it offers HDR, where the iPhone completely has everything like blown out. You can see it also here in this case that the Pura is doing better with HDR. There's a bit of blue in the sky even though the sun is there, and here it's like completely outblown on the iPhone 16 Pro. So in general, maybe everything back and forth here, you decide which one you like, but I probably would give them, in terms of front-facing video, the same kind of points, because we have some weaknesses with the Pura 70 Ultra, we have some weaknesses with the iPhone 16 Pro, and they equal each other out. And with the Pura having more flexibility because of the zooming in possibility and zooming out possibility, I think it is equally good in terms of video here. Main camera video performance is quite interesting because we can see the difference in their approach. The Pura 70 Ultra tries to brighten up and getting the shadows out of my face, where the iPhone 16 Pro keeps them in, has a bit more reddish kind of face, where it's a bit yellowish kind of face on the Pura 70 Ultra. In terms of contrast, I think the iPhone is doing a little bit more contrast added in contrast to the Pura 70 Ultra. You can also see that the bokeh there, yes, it's a bit more bokeh on the Pura 70 Ultra, but it's almost the same as with the iPhone 16 Pro. You don't notice much of a difference there. In terms of stabilization, both are doing a very fine job there. No issues at all. And when it comes to handling the lights, you can see like the iPhone is doing it, like the Pura is doing it. Same lighting conditions there. And sometimes they look very similar with the way they are handling the lights there and the change of lights. And when it comes to ultra wide angle, however, we see a big difference. Both very smooth in zooming out, but here you can see what we saw, or what we will see in the photos, is that the iPhone is doing exactly the opposite. Basically, the Pura is doing what the iPhone is doing in photos. It's sucking out the colors. You can see the greens are almost gone completely. The warmth is almost gone of this image, and it doesn't look pleasant. It looks very, very bad, especially also my face, like too reddish there, and less details there as well. It's not a pleasant ultra wide angle on the Pura. The iPhone is doing much better there in terms of video. When it comes to zoom, however, this is almost on par, which is like quite interesting, because zoom animation looks a bit smoother on the iPhone, and we can zoom in and you can see it stays relatively sharp towards the object that I was focusing on. But the Pura 70 Ultra has some struggle. First of all, it's zooming in, then it stays sharp, then it's like some frames that it's like less sharp, then it's sharp again. You can see it's sharp, it's less sharp, has some problems with the reflection probably. But when we go in here, you can see in terms of sharpness details, it's almost the same. It's just the difference that the iPhone makes the sky a lot bluer than it really was in the reflection, where the Pura 70 Ultra is not doing that so much, which is quite interesting. In terms of detail level and sharpness there, yes, maybe a slight edge towards the iPhone 16 Pro, but it's like more equal there. In terms of video, there's a slight overexposure as well, as you can see here. So I think the main camera sensor is equally well there. The ultra wide angle is a loss for the Pura, and the zoom is a slight win for the iPhone. But you'll be the judge in terms of video, which one performs better here. Here the photos. On the left are with the Pura 70 Ultra, on the right are with the iPhone 16 Pro. Both can shoot in high resolution shots, so they're not pixel binning from 50 megapixels down with the main sensors to just 12 megapixels, but they can also go to 24 megapixels. This is what we see here on both. So 24 megapixel shot on both. I can show you the metadata, and what you can see here, besides the 25.4 and 24.5, is that we have 27 millimeters of focal length on the Huawei, where the iPhone has 24 millimeters. The iPhone in the past also had 27, but now they stick to 24, which is the default for most smartphones at either 23 or 24 millimeters. So we have a bit of a cropped in shot, and you can see it's a bit of a slightly different kind of shot, but it was the same day. It just like walked a few steps further with the iPhone here. And or with the Pura actually here. What we see here is like in terms of HDR, they're almost doing the same there. In terms of colors, also the same. The only thing that you notice is that a bit more contrasty look here on the iPhone 16 Pro. And when we go into the detail levels, like in the green grass, for example, we can see that it's a lot more sharpened up and looks a bit more artificially sharpened up on the iPhone 16 Pro, where it looks a bit more realistic on the Pura 70 Ultra. When you go and for close-up shots, there was a centipede or whatever this thing is called on the ground there. First thing I did is like going close to them with the iPhone 16 Pro. This is what you got. The colors it got wrong, because it's like brightening everything up to be a bit more brown, where the Pura 70 Ultra switched to the telezoom telemacro lens there, and it failed a bit there, but I took a second shot, a better shot even. You can see the shadow of me, because I'm using or have to utilize the ultra wide angle for the iPhone 16 Pro for the close-up shot, where on the Pura I can just use the telezoom lens for this. And yeah, the Pura I think wins here hands down against the iPhone in this macro shot. So if you don't want to do macro shots, and I will show you at the end, there's another example, the Pura 70 Ultra wins. Ultra wide angle, the iPhone is supposed to have an update to 48 megapixels here for the sensor. The Pura 70 Ultra has a weak ultra wide angle, but compared to the iPhone, it's tons better. You see the iPhone, what it's doing, it's like adding a lot of contrast and sucking out the life of this picture, like the colors especially out of this picture, because it was a sunny day. And on the iPhone 16 Pro, it could be even done in winter time without snow, it looks like to be. Look at the green grass there. It's like, woo, where's the green? Where's This is not the only thing. The other thing is like information and detail levels, much more there on the Pura 70 Ultra. But you can see also it's closer down. Why? How can it be? The Pura has 13 millimeters where the iPhone has 14 millimeters. Just simply because the Pura has this high resolution mode, not only for the main camera sensor, but also for the ultra wide angle. And I didn't put it out of it, so I have 25 megapixels to work with the ultra wide angle. Where on the iPhone I have only 12. Of course, probably I can shoot RAW on the iPhone, then I get also the 48 megapixels out of this, but do I really want the 48 megapixel out of the sensor? I'm not so sure about this. So there's a lot of detail missing. Pura is definitely not the best. You see here the glooming that happens that we don't have on the iPhone for sure, and it has to sharpen up a lot there to get its decent kind of shot there. But still, it is, especially here on the side, you can see the iPhone looks much more realistic, but here it looks like almost painted. But still, I think, especially on the middle here and all the details there, and the colors especially, the Pura is doing a much better job there than the iPhone for sure. So I'm a bit disappointed by the iPhone's ultra-wide angle. Selfie, again, it looks to be a bit sucked out of life on the iPhone 16 Pro. Same sunny day, but which one looks more like a sunny day? The Pura 70 Ultra and not the iPhone 16 Pro. Though the colors are a bit more realistic. You can see it warms up the face a bit, makes it a bit reddish, where the Pura has a bit of a yellowish kind of tone to it. In terms of detail level and so on, I think the Pura is doing a little bit of a better job there. Yes, the iPhone has a bit more contrast added for sure, but it's not aiding always with the detail levels there when it comes to this. You can see it's even sharpening up the background a little bit, where the Pura has some issues with chromatic aberrations for sure, and the HDR as well. So yeah, keep that in mind. Otherwise, in detail level here, look at this one here, look at this one here. Very, very similar in terms of those details there, but I prefer the Pura here. The next shot with bokeh mode actually enabled. The iPhone failed to do it. The Pura 70 overdid it, apparently. Detail levels here, I would say, is now on par. So where I saw a little bit more, the Pura with the last shot a bit in front, here it's more on par. I would even tend towards the iPhone being a little bit more detailed there, even though, yeah, it has this more contrast added there for sure. And everything else here, detail levels, you can see, yes, it's a bit sharper there on the iPhone, but in general, I prefer the more warmish kind of colors on the Pura. You can tell me which one you like more here on the selfies. Then portrait shots of my daughter. Yeah, I censored her a little bit because I don't have so many portrait shots of me. I took a lot of my daughter. This is usually what I do, but I don't show it to you actually because I have to edit those photos and put something on because privacy reasons. But as you can see here, just the portrait shots, you had a bit of sand there on her hand. Look at the details level there, the color difference there. And when we take a look at around her face and here, especially the cutouts and so on, I think much nicer done on the Pura. It has more bokeh for sure as well. This is now 3.5 times versus 3.5 times. The iPhone doesn't have a 3.5 times bokeh or portrait shot mode, where the Pura has. So it is like calculating in all the stuff, and this is why it fails most of the time as well, and it's not impressive. So I went to 2x on both, because 2x is a crop from the main sensor on both, and again you can see the iPhone has sucked out a little bit of this colors there of this day, because a warm, very sunny day. The Pura 70 Ultra may be overdoing it with a bit of overexposure there in the background, where the iPhone keeps to tend it a bit down. But in general, the green grass looks more appealing on the Pura 70 Ultra. When you look at the detail level here, hairlines and so on, and compare it with the iPhone, you can see again that it's a bit smoothened out, definitely on the Pura 70 Ultra. And we have this effect of the bokeh balls there in the background as well, like little worms, like it looks like. But again, I think the Pura is doing a better job there in terms of detail level, also on my daughter's hair and everything else there. The detail is a little bit better. And also what's always hard to detect is, of course, this here in bokeh in both didn't fine job, but you can see here the bokeh is smoother on the Pura, where here it's like wormy like, and we have a lot of noise on the iPhone already, which is a bit weird. And the color is wrong as well, because this is going more into a magenta kind of color, where it's red like the Pura 70 Ultra is showing. But here you have, like, because of the keeps more noise in, slight kind of texture, where here everything is smoothed out on the Pura. Another shot here with the zoom lens now, 5 times the dedicated one versus 3.5 times, but because we have here again 25 megapixels, which the iPhone cannot do, we almost get to the same zoom level when I go to and zoom in here. You can see it's almost the same, and it appears to be even a bit sharper and more detailed on the Pura 70 Ultra. I think it is definitely a bit sharpened up for sure, but it has all those details there. Which is quite nice. So yes, the Pura can keep up with the iPhone with 3.5 times zoom only versus the iPhone's 5 times zoom, because the Pura 70 Ultra can shoot those in 24 or 25 megapixels, where the iPhone cannot. And this is why you can get these close-up shots. But I can also go on the Pura 70 Ultra to 5x even, and this 5x also can be shot in 25 megapixels. So another win for the Pura. Is it actually? I think there is like where you can see the stretch, where I would like more prefer, yes, better leave it at 3.5 times zoom and have the 25 megapixel image there for more details, because here I think it's like doing a lot more of processing. Yes, it is still, I think, beating the iPhone, because it has to, because at 3.5 times it was already better, but it is more artificial looking there on this case. And also I think the iPhone manages the colors of the stones there in the background, the red, a lot better than the Pura 70 Ultra did, because the Pura 70 Ultra has it a bit more yellowish there, which is not realistic in this case. Let's go and take a look at an HDR shot here. Both very fine, but again, I think HDR, the Pura 70 Ultra looks a bit better. It's like brightening things up more in the foreground there. It has a more lifelike color of the green there, where the iPhone, again, I'm not sure what's happening with the iPhone. It's trying to suck out the green color there, as it wants to not punch them too much, where the Pura 70 Ultra is punching them a little bit too much, but it is like still more realistic what the iPhone is doing in sucking out the colors there. Let's take a look at the middle there and how they're doing with HDR. Warmer exposure on the iPhone 16 Pro. A bit of haze going on there. Maybe it's like the HDR trying to brighten things up here down, where everything is like more contrasty on the iPhone. So you be the judge here, which one keeps it more real there. Also in terms of colors here, this is definitely more blue, and this is like definitely more yellowish there. It has a bit of bokeh there as well, where I think the iPhone managed to focus on the sign here, where the Pura is a bit less sharp there on the sign, and here again a bit darker, it's a bit brighter here. You be the judge which one you think is better. Here's a little sticker there as well there, from the old football club I was playing with. Very nice. Anyway, yeah, which one would you prefer? I have to say both are fine. Here, I think leaning towards the Pura here, because the iPhone 16 Pro is just too dark. And another shot, portrait shot of my daughter there, just to see again, portrait shots, 2x. I think it should be 2x, isn't it? Yes, it's 2x, 54, 48, almost the same. Much more bokeh on the Pura 70 Ultra, a little bit unrealistic, as you can see here, because it has this slide like going out of focus, but this shouldn't be so much in focus there. I think where the iPhone is not doing much in terms of bokeh, and the bokeh doesn't look nice. So I'm not sure what's going on here. iPhone is not so great in terms of this here. And again, you can see it here already on the cappy that you had on. It's much sharper, it's less noisy on the Pura 70 Ultra. The Pura 70 Ultra, here also the little hairs, that noise and not so sharp, is doing a much better job there in terms of portraits. I like it better in terms of portraits. And yeah, again here, you can see how noisy the iPhone 16 Pro already is. And it's daylight. It's like, why is it so noisy? And we have like, what is it, ISO 50 here. And here I have ISO 100, and it's less noisy there. And it's much more noisy here. Is it trying to get some details in that wasn't there? I don't know. Another shot now TV. Now I don't have to censor anything. And as you can see here, also bokeh much more pronounced on the Pura, where the iPhone almost has no bokeh. When it comes to details level and so on, it looks like, again, a bit smoother, a bit more detailed, a bit more clearer on the Pura 70 Ultra. Look at, for example, where his leash is. This looks more natural, looks realistic. This looks like edited, sharpened up. I don't know, has those fuzzy edges around it, a bit noisy still. Yes, that can leave, especially in his fur, to a bit more apparent detail there, together with added more contrast there. But it's not looking so nice, I have to say. I much prefer here. Here you can see the Pura fading there for sure on this fur. But the iPhone doesn't have so much bokeh, so it doesn't have to struggle there so much. Yeah, which one we prefer? In terms of portraits, the Pura 70 Ultras look nicer, just simply as this, and the iPhone just don't look so nice at all. 10 times zoom on both. Now the Pura has a bit more contrast, where the iPhone is losing contrast, but the iPhone has tons of noise, and it's like trying to fight against the noise in a daylight condition there already with the 5x lens. So you can see 64 versus ISO 80. ISO 64 here on the Pura because it has a larger f1.2 versus f2.8 opening there at 10 times both here. And yeah, both are struggling a little bit. Of course, it's 10 times cropping in a little bit. Appears to be more orangey. Again, it's not sucking out the colors so much. It is actually yellow, but I think it's like a bit painted looking on the Pura, where here it looks a little bit like more realistic on the iPhone for sure. But which one would you prefer there? So it's a bit more yellowish there. It's a bit more orangey here, a bit more noisy there for sure. It's very hard to tell. Do we have anything else where you can tell? I think they're both out of focus there. But here you can see, yeah, at 10 times, I think there's a slight lead on the iPhone. And now at 10 times, it's only producing 12 megapixel shots on the Pura. It would be nice if it would have 24, then it would be, I think, more interesting. Talking about 24 versus 12, here again a difference in terms of how we perceive the world in terms of colors, because now I think the Pura has a bit more contrasty look, where the iPhone again looks a bit flat and colorless. I'm not sure what's going on there, because I remember the day to be very sunny, one of the last summer days that we had. And yeah, this is warm, sunny on the Pura, where it looks lifeless. It could be autumn already. On the iPhone 16 Pro, you can see it here with the greens in comparison with those greens. Those look like there's like sun shining onto them. Those look like there's a bit of, yeah, the sun is there, but it's not like really bright. Same goes for here. The color difference here between those. And then the detail difference as well. You can see the iPhone looks a lot more baked in, sharpened up, not really, yeah, overdoing it with the processing, where the Pura looks more natural for sure here. And the same goes for other parts here of the picture as well, when it comes to detail retrieval and so on. As you can see, both have 24, 25 megapixel shots there. Here you can see, here, do you see this one here and this one? There is like a small kind of wire as an ornament or something like this there for the chimney to look a bit nicer. You barely can see it on the, or notice on the iPhone 16 Pro, where you can see it here clearly on the Pura 70 Ultra. Again, the colors a bit warmed up sky, which is weird because the sky was that blue that day. Yeah. And all the other little details there both struggle a little bit with the colors there and the reflections. It's a bit sharpened up more on the iPhone, but it also looks a bit more artificial in comparison to the Pura. And both at 24 megapixels, yeah. Macro shots. I promised you another macro shot comparison now with a flower. And I went as close as I got with the iPhone 16 Pro. This is what I get. It's still very impressive, and I think it's slightly misfocusing, I'm not sure. The Pura 70 Ultra here, not even using tap to focus on both, by the way. Nice details. I think almost microscopic kind of details on the Pura 70 Ultra. I like the Pura a lot more with its telezoom lens for this. Both can fail sometimes with the automatic the automatic autofocus to pick the right subject. In this case, I was leaning towards a wall and tried to photograph the street there and wanted to have the focus on the flowers. Which one did it better? Not really on the flowers. Also not really on the flowers. This was focusing on the background there, as you can see. The back flowers. Here it wasn't focusing. It was, I think, focusing here on this flower there, maybe. On this flower, maybe. Yeah, on this flower it was focusing, as you can see here, where this is out of focus. So you can see they sometimes have a bit of a misfocus there as well with focusing. This is why some people ask me, why is the score for focusing only 4.5 stars and not more? And this is the explanation. So this is something that you never would have an issue with the, never I wouldn't say, but almost never with the Xperia 1 Mark 6 that nails it every time there. Maybe their AI autofocusing system is working there nicely. And it's also better with the LiDAR one on the Magic 6 RSR. I can show you for sure. Otherwise, yeah, detail levels and colors almost the same. I don't need to see much of a difference there between those two. And then the ultra wide angle, just to show you my huge disappointment with the iPhone 16 Pro. I thought maybe it's a blunder with the iPhone 16 Pro. I updated to 1801 that fixes a lot of things on the iPhone 16 Pro, but the ultra wide angle is still sucking out the life of this shot. It was a sunny day, green grass, and here it's like and then again the difference here, 25 megapixels on the Pura 70 Ultra, 12 megapixels on the iPhone 16 Pro. And when I go into the middle, you can see how messy it looks like, how bad it looks like. I think even mid-range phones can produce something way better than what the iPhone is doing here. Look how much more detailed it looks like, much cleaner it looks like on the Pura 70 Ultra. Yes, it is a bit of chromatic aberration, a bit of soft there, it's doing a little bit of editing, but the difference, you can see the difference between those two. Look at the tent here, compare it with this, much more realistic. This looks like it would come over the camera. This looks like clearly smartphone picture that is like over sharpened, over processed and so on. Well, yes, this has also the Pura 70 Ultra has also the tendency to do so, but it's not as bad as the iPhones. So yeah, very disappointed by the iPhone there for the ultra wide angle. I think it's even a downgrade to the iPhone 15 Pro Max or the 15 Pro here in this case, but you be the judge of those ones here. So these are my findings so far. I think the Pura 7 Ultra is doing a little bit better in terms of colors in general, which is the iPhone is sucking out colors. I don't know. Ultra wide angle, very disappointing on the 16 Pro. The telezoom lens is working at 5 times better with the high megapixel resolution on the Pura 70 Ultra than on the iPhone. The iPhone is working a bit better and clearer at higher zooms like 10x, for example, than the Pura. And when it comes to selfies, I'm leaning towards the Pura 70 Ultra, but let's say they're mostly equal there in this terms when it comes to taking selfies, at least at daylight. And I think these are the last pictures. Yes, we will take a look at the night performance now. Night video mode here on the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. It doesn't have a specific night mode or night video mode for this matter, but we have an automatic frame rate adjustment, so probably it is adjusting to 24 frames per second, but actually it's showing 30 frames per second. I'm walking towards the light, standing now under the light. Internal mics here, walking away from the light. As you see here, probably walking into the dark. How is my face exposed here? And now I'm turning into the light. And what do you think about the quality here of the video of the Pura 70 Ultra? I'm recording with the iPhone 16 Pro and 4K 30 frames per second. You can set up 4K 24 frames per second if you want to in the settings as well, but I'll just leave it as 30 frames per second. It has an automatic switch as well, just like Huawei, and we will see if it switches to 24 frames per second or not. Under the light right now, using the internal mics here, walking away from the light, how well is the stabilization working here on the iPhone 16 Pro? And we will turn now into the light. What do you think about the quality here on the iPhone 16 Pro? So here we have the night shots on the selfie cam on both. We have a completely different experience. The Pura 70 Ultra is illuminating the screen all the time and takes the shot then, where the iPhone 16 Pro tries to simulate a flash, so it's flashing the screen for a few seconds and then taking a shot. Whatever the iPhone is doing, it's not going or being as effective as what the Pura is doing here. We can see much better on the Pura 70 Ultra with this shot, much more exposed, the shot there. And when it comes to detail levels, I wouldn't say like that it's a huge difference. I think maybe a slightly bit better on the Pura. But why is the face so red? Why is it? It's like the iPhone is losing me here, to be completely honest. It's not doing a great job. This is the only difference there. Otherwise, I would say they probably would perform the same. But you can see here this eye, because of the more light intake that we have, it's doing a little bit better there for sure. Ultra wide angle is quite interesting. I was posting this also on Twitter saying the Pura is destroying the iPhone here, and it's the same as we saw in daylight here. It's like and this is like again 13 megapixels, 12 megapixels. This is 12 megapixels here, so it's 13 megapixels. So it's not the 24 or some 25 megapixels, but still look at the difference there. Yes, the iPhone has more contrast, so you can see a bit more details here, where here it's only slightly there. But look how much worse it looks like, because it's like doing over sharpening and trying to reconstruct things, and it's totally processed looking, where the Pura 70 Ultra looks a bit more, in contrast to this, much more realistic, much more natural, which is a tremendous difference here. Look at this car, look at this car, look at the tires, almost like looks like the tires are not round on the iPhone even, which is like super bad. I'm just speechless how bad this new ultra wide angle there on the iPhone 16 Pro is actually. Main camera sensor, do we see much of a difference? There is, especially in nighttime. You will see the superiority of the 1-inch type sensor on the Pura, where the iPhone has a little bit smaller kind of sensor, and also not the possibility to go to a wider aperture, f1.6 on the Pura, where we have f1.8 on the iPhone with a smaller sensor. This would lead to a bit of a difference there. But let's look at the detail here. You can see it's a bit warmer on the iPhone for sure. Both struggle a bit with the lights, but the iPhone has some problems here with this light, where here you can see the structure where this light is coming from. Actually, it's behind the building, through another door, where it's coming from the other side of the building, where here it could be also reflection on the iPhone. And all the other differences here with the sign and the greens here, you can see how much more smudged up, how much less detailed the iPhone is there in comparison to the Pura. So yes, it's definitely a win for the Pura. Look at the greens here in the windows as well, and in general, look at the inside there. Much better handling on the Pura in contrast to the iPhone. When it comes to zooming, which is quite interesting, here again it's using 12.6 megapixels, even though I have the high resolution set up here. But if it's too dark, the Pura 70 Ultra doesn't do the high resolution. And on first glance, the iPhone at 5x is doing a better job. It's less noisy. Usually it should be more noisy, but here it's less noisy than the Pura 70 Ultra. You can see how much noise there is. In terms of sharpness and detail level, I think they're almost on par. There it's a bit smoothed out, less noisy, where it's a bit more noisy. And when we go in here, I would even say to the smaller details there that the iPhone is doing a bit of a better job there. But look at the exposure when it comes to like lights and so on, how they're handling this. First of all, there's a red light versus a green light, but I don't want to do this here because it would be unfair to do this comparison there. But look at this light here and this light. There you see the difference, and the processing and the better HDR on the Pura. It's clearly the logo of Edeka here, which is a supermarket here in Germany, where he's completely overexposed. Yes, it's a bit editing, a bit toned down here. Here's not so much, but at least you can understand what kind of logos they are. And the more we zoom in into those, this is, by the way, 5 times versus 5 times, so it's just cropping from the 5 times. You can see here also how much better this is doing there. But here you can see how much more noisy it is and how much more processing Huawei has to do to get on the same level that is less noisy on the iPhone. So yes, the iPhone has a better sensor. It should, at 5x at least, it should work better there. But yeah, let's go to 10 times here versus 10 times, and it's a total disaster for the iPhone. Look at this here. Yes, it's noisy as hell on the Pura. Yes, it's editing here. It's like getting thinner and thinner, this kind of writing here. But still, you know what this is. easy fit something. Here you don't even know, we cannot read it because it's like completely overexposing. I'm not sure what the iPhone is doing there. Brightening up the sky even, yeah, okay, you can see this here. This is completely dark. But still, I think the iPhone is losing me here with its 5x performance. So at nighttime, it's a failure, a disaster almost. This is quite interesting because I'm not sure what is a vaping vending machine or something like this, but it was so bright that the Pura decided to do, I can do 25.4 megapixels there, even on the telezoom lens. And the only thing that I see here is like much more noise on the iPhone, and we see a little bit there is the display where you can choose the vaping stuff that you want to have, where here it's completely overblown. So in terms of detail level, yeah, it's also a bit of noisy, but it's smudging it out. And here I don't see much of a difference between those. This is closer up on the Pura for sure because of 24 megapixels there. There's not much of a difference. So the iPhone is the iPhone should be better. Let's say it like this, but it's not. And this is like a bit concerning there for the iPhone. 10 times zoom here on both. First of all, which one got it right? It appears to be a bit better looking on the iPhone actually here in this shot, but it's not realistic because the sign was not looking like this. It was more looking like this, with this more red kind of, less overexposure, less bright kind of blue there as well. It's much noisier on the iPhone again, and look at this here, the reflection, and compare it with this. It's a total win again for the Pura. Yes, it's a bit brighter here, but you cannot, what is it, a mirror maybe? Here we have security cams. Let's look at this security cams. Which one looks better? This looks like a pixel mess. This one looks a smoothed out mess. Both not doing great here, but I would rather prefer the more clean image with the Pura than this very pixelated and wrong looking iPhone 16 Pro. Look at this here, the chandelier or whatever it is hanging down there. Yeah. This is what I think. And ultra wide angle already showed you. This is after I took the update to 1801. It didn't improve at all. Look at how bad this looks like on a flagship phone like this. Look at the difference. It's tremendous in terms of details and how bad this looks like on the iPhone. Overexposure, soft as hell, not much details. Even when we go towards the side, it gets a bit better because the Pura 70 Ultra has to struggle there as well and smoothing things out, as you can see there a lot. Where here I would argue the iPhone is doing a better job towards the sides, especially with the pavement. But still, this is brighter looking, this is a bit too dark looking. Yes, it is a huge difference. I think the Pura 70 Ultra is winning here hands down for the ultra wide angle and killing the iPhone with this one here. And going through this shot here, it's clear that the iPhone is lagging. It's just at night, it's totally a disaster with the iPhone. And this is where Huawei is winning for sure. And this leads me now to the conclusion and ranking. Let's come to my conclusion and ranking. TLDR, the iPhone 16 Pro gets 4.415 points, where the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra gets 4.510 points. So yes, the Huawei is destroying the iPhone. Is it really? Let's go into details. First of all, main camera photo quality. Yes, the 1-inch type sensor is offering a bit more. The variable aperture is helping a bit more as well, especially in low light, where it's destroying the iPhone 16 Pro there and is clearly better than the iPhone 16 Pro. However, the iPhone 16 Pro, I think, deserves 4.7 points. The only thing that I have gripes with are colors, but this is more a preferential kind of thing. But yes, in low light, it is still losing, and it's on par maybe with the Mate 50 Pro there. And slightly better, I think, than it was on the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max that I tested out. Ultra wide angle, however, is a total disaster on the iPhone 16 Pro. I'm not sure. Yes, they upgraded the megapixels, but the outcome of the picture is like a downgrade. It's like sucking the colors out of there. The detail level is not there. It is very soft towards the sides. It's just simply a mediocre ultra wide angle that we have on the iPhone 16 Pro. Yes, the ultra wide angle can be used for macro. This is why it's not getting free point something points, but 4 points there. But it's a downgrade towards what we had with the iPhone 15 Pro Max that had less megapixels, but was at least a little bit better there in this regards. And this is where the iPhone is clearly losing against the Pura 70 Ultra that has not a very good ultra wide angle. The reason why it gets 4.2 points here is because it's very wide, the field of view there, and in the center it's pretty sharp, and it's also doing in the night a pretty good job there still. However, it is not the best for sure here. This is only 4.2 points on the Pura 70 Ultra. Zoom camera photo quality is, interestingly enough, a win for the Pura 70 Ultra. Why is that the case? Mainly portraits. Portraits look so much nicer on the Pura 70 Ultra. It's sharper, it's more detailed, it's less noisy, has better artificial bokeh. The iPhone, yes, the bokeh can be also looking quite nice sometimes, but the sharpness, the detail level, the noisiness of the shots are a big issue with the portraits. Then we have the 25 megapixels mode on the Pura 70 Ultra that helps with the zoom. Like the 25 megapixel shot with 3.5 times zoom on the Pura 70 Ultra beats the iPhone's 5 times optical zoom with 12 megapixels. Hands down. Yes, the iPhone wins in further zooms, like 10 times, for example, with the Pura 70 Ultra is not doing so great. But still, you saw it at nighttime. It's a total disaster on the iPhone 16 Pro that even in the long ranges, it's not handling HDR properly. It has weird brightening things up, like kind of effects there. It's not good. This is where it's losing completely against the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. Video recording quality is still slightly better on the iPhone 16 Pro, especially when it comes to the ultra wide angle, which is a total disaster on the Pura 70 Ultra. I'm not sure what they're smoking there. It's like lifeless on the Pura 70 Ultra. The same that we had with photos on the ultra wide angle on the iPhone is happening in video mode on the Pura 70 Ultra. And switching lenses is kind of smooth. It's smoother definitely on the iPhone still, and I think the zoom doesn't struggle so much on the Pura 70 Ultra as it does on the iPhone at daylight. At nighttime it's a different kind of story, because I think the Pura 70 Ultra has tons of noise there, but at least the frame stays sharp and it's not smeary, where the iPhone, I think it's even a downgrade towards what we had with the 15 Pro Max. It's smeary all over the place, and the stabilization is not as well as on the Pura 70 Ultra. Nevertheless, I'm giving still, because you most of the time shoot in daylight, giving a slight edge still to the iPhone 16 Pro here. But you be the judge. You can tell me you're totally wrong. You should have them equal themselves out. You can write it down in the comments what you think about this one, especially as I think the performance at 4K 60 frames per second is slightly better on the Pura 70 Ultra than on the iPhone 16 Pro, at least in SDR. But in terms of video, I'm also with the extra features like lock and so on, I give the iPhone there the benefit of the doubt. Autofocus performance is the same. You saw it, that both can misfire sometimes there. Front camera, I think the front camera is better on the Pura 70 Ultra. Yes, at daylight we had like almost equaling themselves out. One shot, a few shots better on the Pura, a few shots better on the iPhone. But in general, I think they're equaling themselves out. But when it comes to nighttime photography, it's a huge difference, and we get more details, we get brighter picture there on the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. And this is so much so that I would say, yes, we get 0.1 point more there. The Pura is better in terms of selfies than the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Also adding, because of the flexibility that we have with the front camera for group shots, for example, have a wider field of view. This is why, in general, then totally the Pura 70 Ultra beats the iPhone in selfies. When it comes to camera UI, almost the same, both not very good, but the iPhone is losing slightly towards the Pura 70 Ultra that has more flexibility and more one-handed usability and reachability for certain things that you can do. Both have some weird limitations, like setting the timer on the Pura, you have to go into real settings, and on the iPhone I don't think you have to do it so. But yeah, no Pro mode really on the iPhone there. We have it on the Pura 70 Ultra. We can change settings relatively quickly. This also aids to the extra features. Yes, the iPhone 15 Pro Max had even worse extra features. ranking here, but the iPhone 16 Pro gets a bit better here. Yes, we have the external SSD recording. We have now different profiles that we can choose, like, and change the color tone of what we want to photograph, which is quite nice, which is I consider an extra feature. But also the camera button is an extra feature, and all the functionality that you can do, like quickly swiping to change the exposure after you manage to fiddly change the default mode for swiping on the camera control button. So yes, it's better on the iPhone 16 Pro than it was on the 15 Pro Max, but it's still no comparison to the extra features that we have on the Pura 70 Ultra, that with the Pro mode, with the night photographic astrophotography modes and so on that we have there built in, baked into the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. The Pura 70 Ultra has this multi-cam functionality where you can record from multiple cameras, multiple smartphones, something that on the iPhone by default with this camera app is not possible, at least. So yeah, what does it leads us to? Let's check the ranking list, and there you can see that the Pura 70 Ultra is still on rank number 4. Nothing has changed there. It's not getting worse or better. And the Apple iPhone 16 Pro barely manages it to the top 10 there with the 9th rank, just surpassing the Xiaomi 14 and just surpassing its predecessor, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. You can see the major difference is here we have a slightly better main camera sensor to the 15 Pro Max. Basically, it's almost the same kind of main camera sensor, but the processing is a bit better on the 16 Pro for that matter. Colors and HDR is a bit better there for sure. It is slightly worse than the Xiaomi 14, however. The Xiaomi 14 has a slightly bit better HDR and handling the noises especially a bit better, and colors a bit better on the Xiaomi 14, which is quite a surprise there, but it is better. Xiaomi 14 has also a weak ultra-wide angle, but it is better than the 16 Pro. And then the surprise, the 15 Pro Max with less megapixels has a better ultra-wide angle than the iPhone 16 Pro and the Xiaomi 14. When it comes to zoom, however, I think they improved the zoom on the iPhone 16 Pro. The Xiaomi 14 was still equaling itself out with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is quite interesting. Basically, the main problem on the 15 Pro Max was the tremendous noise that you had at 5x zoom, even in daylight. There's still an issue on the 16 Pro, but it's not so tremendous. They baked it down a lot, especially in daylight. Nighttime I can live with this, but in daylight it is much better there. Also for the longer zoom, so I think they have a better algorithm there. Video recording quality, yes, the iPhone also beats the Xiaomi 14 there. Both iPhones equally good there in this regard, though I think the iPhone 15 Pro Max, especially also with the ultra-wide angle, is better there. Slightly better, but it's just equaling themselves out. Autofocus performance is the same, and when it comes to front-facing camera, you can see 4.5 on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's the same we have here on the 16 Pro. They are good, but they are not the best. There are some betters, like the Pura 70 Ultra is slightly better there with the front-facing camera. And yes, the Xiaomi 14, even though they made a tremendous upgrade, it is still behind the iPhones for selfies. Camera UI, however, is way better on the Xiaomi 14 with tons of features, with nice features, even better the Xiaomi 14 than the Pura 70 Ultra for that regard. And when it comes to extra features, you can see what the 15 Pro Max had with 3.8 points. A lot better now on the 16 Pro with more control that you have. Camera control is a huge upgrade, I think, for taking shots. It's not so much like for really diving into settings and what Apple, I think, tries to do or try to do with it, because otherwise it would get more points here, because this double tap feature to change between the modes is fiddly, very fiddly. But if you have set the exposure, for example, you can quickly swipe to set the exposure, which is a nice feature. This is why we have 4 points here. So this leads us to this ranking here. Are you agreeing with this ranking? Are you not agreeing with this ranking? Tell me in the comments. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.